Hello and welcome to the Mercian Pilgrim. Today I'm in Shropshire near Uffington and I'm at Haughmond Abbey, which is an English heritage site. The abbey is of course ruined these days, but it's got a lot of history, a lot of great carvings, and there's enough intact that makes this a fantastic site to look around. If you care to join me, let's take a look around together. Haughmond Abbey was originally a lot smaller than this. In fact, it started in about 1100 as a church, a small church come hermitage up on a hill. It didn't stay that way though. By about 1120, they'd got grants of land, and Haughmond was able to grow, becoming eventually an Augustinian priory, though it wasn't Augustinian originally. Where I am right now was what eventually was going to become the abbot's quarters, and you can see what I was saying about the stonework, though in front of me this bay window is not original and is, I believe, 15th or 16th century, 15th century, early 15th. They got this finished a few decades before Henry VIII took care of all the monasteries. I suppose at least he got his new windows. It is amazing, and you think this site is actually bigger than a lot of modern sites. They built some huge architecture back then. Moving through here, this is one of the places the abbot would actually have entertained. All of this, in fact. So the abbot really did live a different life to the rest of the monks, but that does tend to be a similar thing between the Benedictines as well as the rule of the monks of St. Augustine. They too had a very rich abbot, and the monks themselves lived quite austere lives in comparison. We're getting a little from the outside here as we pan round the outside of the abbot's chambers, and you can see the sheer scale of this. But this was actually 16th century. I stand corrected, I checked my notes. And this is where the abbot would also have entertained if you were a pilgrim, but not this pilgrim. You would have been welcomed and entertained by the abbot in these very chambers. You would have had better wine, and well, wine at all, and certainly far better food than the monks. Now, I personally think the abbot was taking the mickey a little in these places, but perhaps that's just my modern politics coming into view there. Behind me is the abbey's cloister. This is where the abbot and senior monks would meet to discuss abbey business, and this is impressive, very impressive. All this building work would have been finished by about the 14th century. The abbey itself became an abbey in the 12th. Originally it was just a priory, and the grant of abbey status really did allow them to grow and to build and to build. Things like this behind me. I'll turn the camera around and we'll have a closer look at it.
The abbot's lodgings date from about the 12th century, but the abbey was modified in the 14th century, and one of the things that happened was the abbot's hall was rebuilt, even bigger. Hospitality was a big thing for the abbey, and the abbey would have welcomed guests, pilgrims, and travellers, as I said earlier. I did say that I'd clarify my comments, and here's some clarification. The abbot was a local VIP, a landowner, a local lord, and a very august person in the local community. His lodgings were grand, and undoubtedly he had his own little household and everything else, which would have meant better access to quality of food and other things than the rest of the monks. I suppose with my view of things and knowing what the early Christian churches in Britain were like for being all about acquiring money and land and local power, I have a very cynical view of this. The wealth wasn't entirely kept for themselves, though. The abbey ran a small almonry. Now, this is like a hospice, and they ran it very near to the abbey, right outside, in fact. And here they would give food and shelter to the sick and poor thereabouts. Additionally, Haughmond supported the community of nuns at nearby White Ladies Priory. The major benefactors of Haughmond were the local Fitzallen family, and they sponsored Haughmond for about 300 years. But eventually, in the 15th century, the abbey downsized. Finally, in 1539, the abbey was closed during Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries.
So that's me done for this episode. If you've watched this far, thank you for watching. Please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you find what I do appeals to you. I've got a trip home, so I'll sign off now. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.